Hey everyone, welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry and I am the host. As always, thank y'all so much for tuning into this podcast. And if this is your first time, this is a Christian podcast which features people of all ages, and they share a bit of their story about how God has helped them to overcome a difficult challenge, situation, or a season in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming with God's help, and they do share authentically. Well, if you are back, then you are ready to see part 2 of episode 28 featuring Shedrick and Erica Elliott, where the title of this episode is Overcoming Self-Reliance in Marriage. If you have not seen part 1, you will want to go and check it out. In the meantime, here it is, y'all, part 2. Enjoy and be blessed. Are there just still some things that are just uncomfortable for you to share, or just you're still just like, oh, I don't want to talk about this, but like kind of like what you explained, like what's going on internally that makes you not really want to communicate as much?
Honestly, I don't know. Do you? Oh, yeah, I guess I couldn't tell you. I couldn't be like, you answer that for me. So that's internally.
I mean, I probably could answer it for you.
Go ahead, take a shot.
I'll take a shot.
Take a shot.
I think, well, I will say at this point, I don't really think it's anything that you feel you can't tell me. But I do feel like sometimes, not to sound all spiritual, but the enemy will like use different narratives to keep us kind of locked in. Because like he'll say something and he'll tell me about it after it happened. And he'll be like, I was so scared to tell you. And I'm like, why? Like, think back to a time when I've blown up. And he's like, you haven't. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that, I forgot who said it years ago about being like a safe space for each other. So I make a habit, as dramatic as I can be, when he tells me stuff, I'm just like, yeah, cool. Even in my head, I'm like, oh my goodness. But I don't, because I don't want him, because it's like, if I do the big eyes, then in his mind, it's like, well, if I tell you, so I just be like, yeah, cool, awesome, chill. And then I just process it. And most times it's not nothing crazy. So I've worked hard to do that. So when he thinks it out, when he replays the last time, he can be like, oh, she'll be good. But sometimes, we let narratives happen of like, oh, they gonna overreact, da-da-da. So I know sometimes it's been like, you've been afraid to say something, and he'll get to it. Also, I think you can be so content, and like Shed doesn't complain. And when I say doesn't complain, I mean like, he don't complain. Like, it could be raining on him, and he's like, it's water. Like, he just... Like, he'll come in from a run, soaking wet, and I'm like, you okay? He's like, yeah, it just started raining while I was running. I'm like, why didn't you, like, come back? I'll just finish. It's just water. Where I'd have came back like, oh, my God. Like, it would have been a whole story. I'd have called my sister, like, girl, let me tell you what. Like, it's all messed up and everything. So, because he doesn't complain, he's so content. I think that he tends to, like, hold stuff in and just, like, I'll deal with it. I'm good. And I don't even think he realizes how stressed he is or how something's eating at him till I'm like I used to take it personally, because I would assume that if he wasn't himself, he was mad at me. That's a whole other podcast.
I understand that.
So I was just like, are you feeling all right? He's like, yeah. So in my mind, if you feeling all right, it can't be me. I ain't do nothing to you. Then yeah. And I think me asking, are you good? It's like now he'll be like, I will be. Or he'll be like, I'll talk about it tomorrow.
Got you.
It's almost like I have to point out to him, hey, whatever's inside is showing. Because...
So how does it show? Because he's so kind of even keel, and so how do you know? I mean, clearly you're his wife, but how do you pick up on that?
Usually if he's a little short with his answers. Okay. Or like snappy. Not like snappy in a mean way. Nothing crazy. But just like, oh, there's a little edge under this. I don't like the way you said that. So I'm going to let you chill. And then I'll just be like, did you sleep well? Like, do you drink some water? Like, because I'm like, maybe he's tired. Because when we all tired, you know what I'm saying? Like, anything can happen. But usually I can tell. And then if he loses sleep, sometimes. Okay. His sleep patterns are all over the place. But sometimes I'm just like, I think you were up thinking about something. So usually once I ask him, is he good enough times, I space him out. Because he doesn't like, if I ask him, are you good? And he says yes. If I ask him right after, he'd be like, I said I'm fine. And I'm like, so I got to space him out.
Jared is the same way, I think. I think Jared is the
same way. It's big, I said what I said energy. It's big, I said what I said energy. And I'm like, I'm just making sure you are. But he's like, if I said I'm good, I'm good. Okay. Because I be saying I'm good, I don't be good. I'm waiting for that second one to be like, actually, it's been a rough day.
Right.
But he means what he say. But I think when I space him out,
Yeah.
he notices like, why she keep asking me? And then it's like, what's going on? And he'll like say it. But I feel like so much you're just get it done. Like you don't think about yourself enough to know that you're holding something inside.
Yeah, and I also think so. Like even although I would say, how do I phrase it? I guess holding things from Erica. Sometimes it's not even necessarily even that. It's I'm not probably extending as much to like go talk to others outside of my wife as I should. And she'll encourage me like, hey, you should go talk to so and so or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll do that. But I actually never do. It's almost like the moment has to be forced on me to kind of before I'm willing to actually like share, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah. So he had a very trying situation with one of his athletes 3 years ago. And I literally, I think I texted your dad.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, I texted his dad, like, she needs to talk to you. Because I knew he wouldn't reach out because, again, I feel like you've gotten a lot better with this, but it's like, I got it. And I'm like, this is heavy. Like, this is heavier than normal. You need to talk to somebody. And also, I know my limitations, like...
Right.
I can crack a joke, perhaps, and, like, maybe we can, like, do a little dance, or we can make something, but, like, I can't help you do this.
Yeah.
And so I text your dad, and I think he came over that day.
Oh, wow.
Because I don't really text him, like, Shed needs to talk to you. And it wasn't, like, emergency, but I was just, like, some stuff went down, Shed needs to talk, and he came over, and I feel like that really helped you.
No, that was like that was a huge starting point. At that time, I had an athlete that was really battling some psychosis, which I hadn't never really had any experience with, and this was a young man who I love to this day. He's fine now, but at that time, seeing him in that state, seeing where his parents were, because I was kind of like the point of contact, getting the phone calls and everything, and hearing parent grief and pain was hard. And so carrying that and seeing where he was at that stage, where I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, this is some sort of crazy demonic attack, and I also felt powerless. Where it was like, there's nothing. I would see some of these episodes, and I'm like, there's nothing. Like, I was afraid to even do anything, which was also impacting me. I think I was also battling at that time. I don't know if I was battling like really bad headaches or something. I was dealing with something
I think that
physically.
was around the time.
Because it was around the same time.
Also, like, the time period with your mom's passing.
So, and that's what I was getting to. Where I was like, I was dealing with all these physical, like, headaches, dizzy. It was all this type of stuff.
Okay. I
was also coming upon, I guess, 36. And my mom passed at 36. And so there had always been this fear in my brain that I might not make it to 36. Because I'm my mother's first child. And one of my aunts had said some things to me a long time ago. She didn't mean nothing by it. When I was probably like a teenager, but had always stuck with me. She's like, you better watch what you do, because you know, it was probably in your blood, And I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't think nothing of it. But then as I got older, when I could feel something,
right,
could I have that? You know, so And so as I got closer, any ailment or a symptom, it created a whole bunch of fear on me. And so tied to that, and there was other stuff too, but it was all these things. And not that I was walking around saying like I'm fine, but I wasn't going to talk about anything. I might give her some snippets, but even whether it's my father, my pastor, who's been an absolutely amazing resources. I remember one time she's like, hey, you should probably reach out to Jared or something like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that. I don't, you know, so it could be just all those, I just wouldn't do it. And so, and that has probably been, there's probably been a situation like that at least once a year.
Yeah.
If not more than that. Where it's like, yeah, you should go reach out and Like, I think it was last month. That was probably 3 weeks ago when I met up with Pastor.
Yeah.
And so, but she had been telling me probably for like 3 months, you should reach out to Pastor. Like, you should reach out to Pastor. But again, in my brain, I'll hear things, but it's based off of what I do. So, for example, like he was kind of taking a sabbatical, you could say, for maybe meeting with people one-on-one. So I heard it from the pulpit, and I'm like, oh, he ain't meeting with nobody.
All right, so I'm not gonna hit him up.
I'm not gonna hit him up. But he didn't really mean it just like that. It was he meant it. But if I had hit him up or certain people hit him, he's right there. And so finally, I think it was almost like accidental. I actually, like 3 weeks ago, I was like, hey, Pastor, are you going to be here like, I think it was on Thursday, like Thursday morning? He's like, wow, you need to meet with me? And so I was like, well, I guess. Yeah, if you say that, I was like, honestly, I was just ask you if you could open up the church because I vacuum. And so I was like, I just can't do it tonight. Well, he was like, Shed, anything for you, like I got you. So we ended up talking for like 6 hours.
Yeah, he's there all day.
Wow.
Like it was crazy, but it helped me so much. I was battling being critiqued as a leader. Like that's really where it started. And so I came to him with like a list of 7 things. And as I'm talking, well, he did most of the talking, but I came to listen. I needed his insight.
Right.
And so, and I also learned from real life examples. And so as he was being so transparent, so genuine, he's so candid with me. Like I started crying at one of the points. Like I was like, Pastor, if you don't know, if there's anybody here that benefits from your honesty from that pulpit, it's me. I might not say nothing. I might just be sitting there like, got you. But if I really do soak it in, and then I'm looking to apply what I've learned or what I've received when I'm out there living real life, so to speak. And so I would say even like the self-reliance, I've done too much, not even just necessarily relying, communicating with my wife, is also neglecting the fellowship with brothers in particular. You know, so it's like, all right, man, I gotta do that better. Now I still gotta do that better. You know, so it was like that was a success 3 weeks ago. But as things comes up, using my network more, so to speak, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So you said something that stuck out to me. You said you realized it was your fear of being critiqued as a leader, right? And it goes back to that Flacco argument, right? So leadership, I mean, you've hit on it a little bit as far as, you know, how much you've looked up to your dad, how important just leading your wife is to you. But it sounds like leadership is very important to you.
It is.
So talk about that.
Yeah, it is. I think probably sometimes it's probably unfair where I will. So I think there's always been this mantra where, shucks, to a degree, well, I think it goes backwards. I'm kind of jumping around. Where I've always looked at the Bible as extremely black and white. So for example, like one of the whole Chosen series has actually really helped me. I don't care how accurate or inaccurate it is. It has added an emotional side that I didn't think existed.
Hold up. Pause real quick.
Oh,
Because you sound like my husband right now. He used to be so black and white
my
when
gosh.
it came to the scriptures. And
Yeah.
Chosen, initially, he was like, man, what is this? What is all this fiction that you're adding to the word? You know, the Bible says you're not supposed to add or take away from the scriptures. What are they
Jesus
doing?
Ain't laugh.
Right.
You think this man lived 30 years and never laughed?
I did. I'm like, I don't see no
He was reaching to
humor.
people with no personality.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I see no humor. There's no laughing. You see crying. You see
Right.
grief.
Ain't no
But
joy.
Didn't I think God told like Joshua, like, Moses is dead, man. Like, let's keep it moving.
Yeah, keep
it was
it
just kind of
moving,
like,
right.
yo, he ain't play around. Like they died. Boom. We keep
This
going.
explains a lot about who he is.
I'm like,
Personality.
good Lord.
Very black and white.
And so, but as a kid, that's how I embraced. And so as time went on, it's just like, okay, then. And so really it started with, that's like the foundation where it's either this or that. Now, I've come to learn that there's actually a lot more in between there. And there is a humanity element. And that Chosen honestly helped me where I'm like, Jesus was dancing? You know, so again, regardless of how accurate or inaccurate it is, doesn't matter.
Right.
He probably did.
Yeah.
You know, so he probably, cut a little something,
Right.
here and there. Yeah, so he was like, here you go.
Keep going.
So like I heard like, woman, why you asking me, for the whatever. Well, he might not have said it like that.
Yeah.
Woman, it's not my time.
Right.
I didn't see that.
That was his mama.
Yeah, it's like, and I'm like, woman, it's not my time. So that's how I was processing.
Oh, you sound like you and Jerry need to have some conversations.
What Bible y'all reading?
That's why I'm like, what Bible y'all reading? Because it's right there. And so that whole black and whiteness.
Yeah.
And then I think there's always been, whether scriptural or not, is well, to a degree, it's still scriptural, where it's like God holds the leader accountable for whatever. I mean, you have an organization, it's like regardless of whether this goes on or not, it's your fault, so to speak. And so even when I was put into a head coaching role, coaching high school, and it could seem so trivial, but it was really, it was serious. I was still at Towson, so I was 22 when I started. I was just thrusted into head coach accidentally because they fired the 2 other guys for doing like some shady stuff. And so immediately it's like, it's my job to take care. And so it's like, okay, all right, no matter what, I'm taking care, so, and then those individuals trusted me like immensely, so it was just so quick. And so it's like, okay, it's my responsibility to make sure everything's good. So if something went down, it's my fault. Even if somebody doesn't necessarily say that, but I've kind of that's been my line of thinking for so long, it's my fault. And then when you hear somebody actually say it, like, dang, that hurts, so it's just,
even though you already been thinking that, to hear somebody say it,
I've already been thinking that. And also when there's been misinterpretations of your intent, where it's like, dang, like recently I was accused of being sexist, where it was just like, me? Like, if anything, sexist towards women. I'm like, if anything, shoot, I'd admit I wouldn't call it sexist, but if you want to talk
biased
about, I can be very biased
with the girls. You love the girls,
absolutely. So and I'm like, if I had said that, I'd validate it. Like, I'm not gonna deny, and that's not a knock at my fellas. I love my fellas.
Right.
Part of it was like I really have desired a daughter, so it was almost like I've been trying to practice for like 17 years. So with the girls, so to speak, and I can be a pushover, with them, just like with my nieces, so all those types of things. All right, cool. That's just kind of what it is.
Right.
But when I would hear things that were completely false, it's like, dang, like this hurts, So, and how to process that, that's where I would go to pastor. And that was actually one of the 7 things that I had talked to him about, I guess 3 weeks ago now at that time. And that was right before we went to nationals. So that was like March 9th or something, right before we had probably the highlight of my athletic coaching career, at least at Hopkins, where it was like I needed to go get some insight to prepare me for what could be coming down the road. So I had an awesome conversation with a recruit last night, and she was sharing some of her experience with her current coach and just talking about, like, I'm gonna say if you got 10 athletes and let's say she's number 9 in performance, that makes you feel like that coach doesn't really care about you because you're not at the top. And so I was like, listen, I'm gonna just be honest with you, you may feel that way at times here. And that's not because I don't care about you. But I begin to explain to her to try to establish a baseline. Now, I know good and well she'll probably still feel that way as time goes on. But I'm learning to, and this is something the pastor said to me, he was like, you reestablish a baseline. But from there, you can't just keep coming back and trying to remind them every single time. Like, that's
too
just
much energy.
Yeah, and so in that regard, so I would say more recently when it's the leadership is extremely important to me. It's the responsibility factor. I think it's more when I know something is completely false and how to really handle that and address that with the individuals. Because a lot of times I don't. I just kind of let it go. But it'll be, well, this person could probably be influencing this individual that hasn't had no experience with me, but now because they heard so and so say this, that can like pollute their perception of me. And so as a freshman, and so I'll be thinking about all these other factors, and I'm already critiquing myself, so like I'm very reflective. We were sharing with a couple of former athletes, current athletes, where almost every day, I'm gonna do it after this, I'll replay the conversation of that too. But I'll replay the conversation. I'm like, man, I probably should have said it like this, or dang, I probably shouldn't have said it that way. Like, that's just kind of like what happens. And so that kind of just adds to it, so to speak. But in a nutshell, no, leadership is extremely important to me.
Yeah.
I will also add to the leadership thing. So I know we've mentioned your dad a couple times because he's the third, his dad is the second. Is he the second or junior? And they are very similar. But Shed would give stories of like him growing up. And his dad was kind of hard, but he raised his boys to be leaders. Yeah. Like, you gonna turn 18, you gonna get out this house, and like when you get married, you're the head of even as like, we don't have kids yet, but even with that, his dad raised them like, you are an actor, like you are the one to make sure that kid is good. Like, it's not like you just chill and let the woman do everything. Right. So that leadership and him being raised that way and being the oldest and being responsible for your brother and your sister, it also plays into the self-reliance of, I got to make sure everybody's good. And so it just, like I say our new thing. It's my thing that I'm making his thing, but it's for him to work on like having joy. And this is going to sound crazy. No, don't judge me. Okay. But him to do stuff.
She says it every day.
Do something fun and do something with no purpose. This is what I mean. He's very intentional. Everything he does is a reason for it, the purpose behind his intent. And I'm like, just do something to do it. Yeah. So much of what I do is just to do it. I'll be out here just like, this seems fun. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, okay, there's a balance. I can definitely pull it together. But I'm like, he's always taking care of something. He's always just getting it done. And I'm like, enjoy a part of it. And I was telling him with hearing him say that, like, he needs me, like, for his soul, I realized that probably halfway through our marriage of just, like, me being extra dramatic, funny, that is my role in this marriage. And now I'm super confident in that and secure in that. So I don't feel like I have to work my way to be a good wife.
That's good.
I know that me, doing the Harlem Shake at 7 a.m. is my contribution. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it. I love it.
And that's real life. Like, I will wake up and just I be low-key terrorizing this man in the house. I mean, full-on performances. Just
if I had hidden cameras, it would really be a comedy show.
I could win an Academy Award for the performances I give in that house.
Once she wakes up, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
It's a wrap.
Say it like that.
Yeah.
But I am working on him with like enjoyment and enjoying our life together, because I don't want, as someone would say, him taking a long way home. Meaning, like, this is just another thing on the list of someone I got to take care of, something I got to do. I want him to come home and be like, this is fun. And I'm realizing now that what fun looks like in me and looks like in him are different things. He can still be having fun, but it's not going to look like my fun.
Yeah.
I just don't want our life to be the burden part of it. And cycling is my getaway. Like, that's also a getaway, but also, like, I want to...
something y'all can do together.
Yeah. I want to be your getaway. I want to be the fun part of your day. So.
And she is, but I think that's also, that kind of touches on something else. It's the response, like the physical response, where, like, oh man, that was a lot of fun. Now me saying, oh, that was a lot of fun, isn't like, oh man, that was a lot of fun. Like, that's her response.
No.
But mine's like, man, like that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
and inside bubbly, and he's like, he really had a good time.
Man, this was awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then as she as she kind of said, like, even like cycling, it's not even necessarily a getaway to a degree. It is very intentional. Like, I enjoy thoroughly putting my body through pain,
which is crazy,
because I'm like, man, it's gonna look better on the other side, even if it hasn't. But
I think
it gets there.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, okay, I've got a goal that I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
And that is fun to me. There's also been a huge network in that cycling. There's a good community, which I really do enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's where it's like, man, it's like we start back up this Wednesday. I'm super excited about it.
Okay.
So it's like, oh man, it's gonna be so good. Even though my fitness is way behind, trying to get towards something, I like that chase. Now, there's a lot of other chases I don't like. But
that's one of them you
that's
like.
one where I'm like, athletic chases,
Yeah.
it's like, a lot of times, like with career, like she's helped expose my thinking, like a little bit more of a dreamer, just a little bit.
A little bit, you getting there.
Just a little bit. But like I'll hear other people's, like, let's say, career paths and all the hard work they did. I'm like, I ain't trying to do that. Like,
When I tell you this man had no dreams when I met him, I'd be like, in a perfect world, what's your dream job? And he's like, what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I'm like I would say, like, dream vacation, money is no object, and he'd be like, Virginia. Like, sir, what? Like, it would be something so basic. And he's like, what's yours? And I'd be like, well, we start in Paris, then we do a 3-month thing. Like, I have a whole thing, and we end on the moon. And he's like, what? I'm like, you said dream. So, like, just even stuff like that. Because I know how I am, and if I had all the responsibility he had and all the tasks he had, I would be miserable.
Yeah.
And so I think I do put that on him sometimes, but also I'm like, you've been taking care of people for so long.
Yeah.
I don't want to just become one of those people, and then 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you just like...
But even that, I enjoy. Like,
and he does.
I really do enjoy. Anytime one of my athletes come to me about anything, I enjoy it.
He does.
So helping them out, even if I didn't help them out, I enjoy the attempt, so to speak. And so, although it could come off as work, in the moment, I don't see it as work.
You don't see
now, physically, for me, down the road, it is work.
Yeah.
So especially if I'm not connecting with the network that I need to kind of keep this going, then it's like, dang, this is a burden. So, but in the moment, I'm not saying, like, oh no, like, hey, we can do it like this, or hey, if I don't know, I'm gonna go find out,
Right.
But then that pile on, because I haven't been taking care of myself, so to speak, that's where it's like, oh, this is too much. But I might not say it, so to speak. And so she'll, better than anybody, is gonna be able to read it, so to speak. And then sometimes her saying that will kind of help me realize, like, all right, I should probably say something. By default, I am going to say it to her. I just may never take it past, even though she'd be like, oh, you need to reach out to so-and-so, something. I'm like, all right, I got you. Yeah, I don't. I was like, yeah. She has a saying at times where she'll be like, and hopefully, well, whatever. People take it however they want to take it. Where she could say something, because I felt like you said it recently, and she'll be like, once a male voice says it, like, any other, then all of a sudden, you know, it's going to mean, something different.
I'll be like, if I lower my voice, maybe it'll click. And I feel like it's not just a you thing. I feel like, I'm going to make a general statement. I feel like it's a man thing, but I don't know. I could be wrong. In my travels, though. Because I've talked to other women, it's like, you'll say something, and then they'll have conversation with, like, their dad or their homeboy or their cousin. They're like, he said da-da-da-da. And you'd be like, I've been saying this for 10 years. Yeah. So, like, and Chad does listen to me. Let me make that clear. He does listen to me. But it'll be something where
it hits home.
Like, it was something... He grew his hair out some years back. He had, like, more hair here, which I love. Yeah. But he wanted to go bald for so long. Like, since I met him, he's like, I'm going bald. And I was like, you go bald, I go bald. Like, don't play with me. Like, we not playing these games. And so... That's a little extreme. I don't mean it, but I'm just saying. And so I was like, you should grow your hair out. He's like, no. And then one day I went somewhere, came home. He was like, I was watching some boxer. Oh, yeah. And he was saying, like, I'm young. I still got hair. I should grow my hair out. You know what I'm doing? Grow my hair out. And I was looking at him like, I cannot. I was flabbergasted. Like,
I do remember that.
I've been saying this for like months at that point. Right. And he said it to me as if it was new information. That's what made me mad. It wasn't like...
It was like, remember what you said?
No, it was like, guess what I heard today? I was like, sir, you playing in my face right now. So, since then...
That was a good time.
Since then, it's been like other little stuff. But stuff I'll say, even about like business ideas. And then he'll talk to like another coach. And he's like, he mentioned... But now he'll say it knowing like, I know you said this. And I just be looking like, what'd he say? So it's like, I mean, with some stuff, I'm just like, long as you get it. Yeah. And it's the same way, like, if I went to Chef for, like, woodworking advice, he doesn't woodwork. But if he gave me advice, I would listen to him, but it probably would hit different from someone who builds. Right. You know what I mean? So, like, I do try to, it's like a running joke. I don't take it as personally, but, yeah, it do be, like, I literally will pray, like, God, have a man tell him this so that he can... And stick inside.
It's typically been either my pastor, my father, I would say Pastor DeBarn, homeboy, the same age as me. Okay. And not that it has to just be those few, but it'll be typically somebody that is probably in some sort of a leadership role. Gotcha. Like, even the last time that I talked to Pastor, one of the things he said to me, because I think early on in my conversation, I was like, Pastor, like, I'm not trying to make coaching out to be like it's pastoring, and I go through my whole spiel. And at the end of our conversation, we talked for 5 hours. He was like, and also I want to clarify, like, honestly, what you're doing to a degree is pastoring. Yes. So, and he was like, don't belittle it. That's like right. You're not doing that. Yep. And so it's like, okay, yeah, because you're caring for people, you know. So not to a degree, it is, what it is. And so, but I'm going to people that I feel, so to speak, even if I don't necessarily think that directly, internally, indirectly, I'm like, all right, I feel like they're in similar positions. And so, like, when I was listening, to Jared's, I haven't listened to part 2 yet, but part 1, I'm like, I can relate to that. Yeah. So it'd be like, oh, I would want to connect, right. about that, because I know he's in a similar position. Like, he was talking about sharing his faith, so which has been a big, a big challenge for me. And just seeing the way that, because again, I'm looking at black and white, and I'm hearing things like, oh, if I'm not evangelist, oh, man. It's just kind of like, what should I be doing? And so hearing somebody else in a similar role and how they may go about it, it's encouraging and insightful, so to speak. Yeah. And so yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think what you said, Erica, about, I just told you that shit. I think couples in general go through that. I know I've gone through that with Jared, and he's gone through that with me. I think it's also a familiarity thing.
Yeah, you're too close.
When you hear from somebody that you don't know as well, it kind of hits a little different. But I think God still wants us to make sure that we just have that healthy balance within our marriages. Like, look, listen to your wife, listen to your husband, So, I think we all experience that in our marriages. I think we do.
And I honestly, that was one of the things that I talked to my pet. That was one of the 7 things was, I'm going to say, better recognizing the wisdom in my wife's voice. That was one of the things.
That's good.
It was, because in my brain, there were some other elements to it that we talked about just with both of our spouses, just to kind of help us out. But I was looking for an even better way to really identify it. You know, so because one of the things I was saying to him, I was like, my wife is my biggest cheerleader. So as we were talking about needs, that's one of the things that's what also that's my soul is she's gonna back me up, you know. So now she might tell me I can't dance, but like that doesn't mean anything. Like,
in the moment though, you was killing it.
Yeah, you know. So but like that's
I'm not going to discourage you.
That's so trivial, like, but like real things. Like she's gonna back me up, and if I'm wrong in something, she may tell me. But a lot of times when I'm saying wrong, I'm talking about like dealing with people where. She's like, man, forget him. You know, so like it's kind of, that's where, you know, her take is, and I know that's not the way I'm supposed to go about it.
Right.
And so in that regard, so I'm like, okay, Pastor, like, how do some of these situations I probably should not forget, but I got to let it go. But I don't want to take.
Your advice don't be great sometimes.
Yeah, you know.
I'm talking about my flesh.
And that's kind of like I know she's talking out of her flesh.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I need you or somebody tell me like, no, shit, you gotta pursue, or hey, shit, you gotta let it go.
Yeah.
And so that's where he was like, reset. And from there, let go.
Yeah,
that's just kind of, and so that's what I attempted to do. Like even with all those girls came up, I wrote each one of them a handwritten letter that was specific to each one of them, hoping to build them up. Now from there, however they decide to take it is however they decide to take it. I can't do anything, you know, beyond that. Right. And so he's like, establish that baseline of love, and then from there, you just gotta live your life, you know. So because it's gonna happen regardless. People are gonna say things, do things. But that doesn't mean that it still won't hurt, because it does. Yeah. And so one of the 7 things I asked him, I was like, can you give me examples in the scriptures of an apostle or disciple or whoever who decided to keep going in the midst of being like broken emotionally and in pain? Like how did they go about it? Like were they crying while still going out there laying hands or whatever? And it was funny, as I asked him the question, I was like, oops, you know what? Stuff is already starting to come to my brain. And because I asked him, like, who would you use as an example? He was like, Paul. And so I was like, I don't know where it's at. But I was like, this person did so and so to me. This person abandoned me here. You know, da 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 da. I'm like, he probably was hurt. But again, I'm looking at black and white. I'm like, he ain't saying like I'm hurt. I'm devastated. You know, so I'm like, man,
this person abandoned me. It was awesome.
You know, so it's just he abandoned me.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. There's no emotions in there.
Crazy way to understand that is wild to me.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm taking it. So,
right.
But again, like something like The Chosen, not that I'm giving them free marketing here, but you know, where it's like, man, like, but I see my pastor, like, who could be crying as he's still loving on someone, you know, so where it's like, ooh, that helps me right there, because I can see it, you know, so to speak. And so it's like, now that I'm seeing this, okay, that encourages me, so I'm also not discouraged when I might be up and I'm crying at night over somebody. You know, I'm not sleeping well because my thoughts are just racing about this particular individual or whatever the case may be. And so I don't know how I got there. But,
I don't know either, but you got there.
Yeah.
You sounded good.
Yeah, so we got there. So.
That was good. Wow. You guys are definitely saying a lot of great things. Now that you are 8 years in to your marriage, going on 9 in August, what do you love the most about being married and about each other?
You go first.
I don't know. I love everything about you.
All right, I'll go first.
I really do. I'm like obsessed with him. I literally was like chasing him through the house today, like, I'm obsessed with you. And he was just like, please stop. He gets with me. He was trying to go off of work. And I was just being ridiculous.
It's definitely, I guess, I don't know if dream is the right word, but I don't even know if optimism is the right word.
For me?
Yeah.
I think optimism is a good word for me.
It's just her free-flowing spirit is, without a doubt, what I'm attracted to the most. And so for my logicalness, I think I might have said it earlier, I need someone that is just this wild dreamer that doesn't even look at boundaries and all these types of things. Because I also know that's faith. And so I need that assistance for my faith to grow. It's like, this woman ain't looking at any limitation, you know, so we're just like, hey, okay, I'm walking away from my job, you know, all right, well, I'm thinking of all this other stuff. And she's like, we'll figure it out.
I mean, we will.
Figure it out. Like, we got to put a plan together, and where's the blueprint, and, you know, like, all these types of things. And so, but even that confidence where it's like, it's still, although I'm not there, it does give me a little bit of encouragement because it's also like, okay, let's say we do fail. Not that we're like, oh, the backup, not fail, but like there's some hiccups along the way. We really are in this together.
Yeah, we're going to figure it out.
You know, so it's not like there's this expectation that you got to figure it out. Because in my brain, even with that, that's what has been, you know. So like for years ago when she would talk about like us having children, and it's like, when I have a child, like I don't want to be working. And so in my brain, I'm like, well, I don't know how that's gonna happen.
That was a conversation we had one day.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a passionate conversation.
Oh, it was a passionate conversation.
Because it wasn't a fight. It wasn't a fight, but it was a conversation. And I remember being like, well, I guess we not having kids. That all that energy.
Right.
Yeah, it was like, okay then. But because in my brain, I have to provide. Yeah. I gotta be the one that's making this happen. And so I remember at that time, I was like, for this to happen, I gotta walk away from coaching. I don't make enough to be able to take care of a household. I just didn't see that. I'm like, it's gonna be my burden because you want to stay home for 6 months and raise a child. Or a year for a child. And I'm looking at other examples and I hadn't seen it. You know, at least in my salary bracket. So I'm like, well, this ain't happening. So then I'm like, well, then we ain't having kids. Now, we're not there now. But at that time, I don't even know when that was. Like 2-3 years ago, 3-4 years ago? I don't even know.
It was before the pandemic.
Okay, so let's say 4 years ago. When it happened, like, well, so be it. You know, and then we revisited it. And, you know, we still figuring this out. But yeah, I would definitely say it's more the dreamy. I don't know if that's the right word, like I said, but that the optimism. The optimism, no boundaries, so to speak, is what I love about her the most, I would say.
Mine is twofold. I was thinking while you was talking. I was listening, but I was thinking. So I love his character. One thing I know, and I'm biased, but I just feel like his character, it just shines so bright. I like, he's going to do the right thing. If he doesn't do the right thing, he's going to feel real bad about it. Like, I don't have to worry about him being shady or screwing up our life because he thinks things through and he wants to do the right thing and he wants to treat people right. And it's a much peaceful, easier life. And also, not that like I care what people think, but like people think highly of him. And then think highly of me. So it's just a different... By default. Yeah, so people just treat you, and not like treat you better, but they have... Like when people come to our house, his athletes, if they slip up and curse, like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, and I know when I was younger, the people that I would... If I cursed at someone's house, it was like, oh my gosh. And how I thought of them, and it like makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Like, you see us that way. Because... everyone doesn't have his character. And a lot of people do shady stuff and reap what they sow. And I feel like I get the benefit of reaping what he's sowing. And he's sowing love. He's sowing Christ. He's sowing what he should sow. And so that's real big to me. And when I met him, his character was a big thing. But being older and seeing other people's lives and marriages and their consequences and all that stuff catch up to him, I'm like, oh no, this is rare. And then he cares about my heart like a lot, and I'm not gonna cry about that.
We got some tissue if you need
it. Because you know, there are things that I can be very harsh about. I can hold a grudge. I can not forgive, and he won't let my heart get hard. To nobody. Not my mom, not my brother, not my sister, not to Jesus, not to, you know, church family, not to outside family. But I can be very much like,
deuces.
You dead to me.
That's why earlier you said I be in my flesh sometimes, like, just forget them.
You ain't your mama. Like, everybody. I don't need y'all. Like, that is... you know, my go-to defense mechanisms, whatever. But he will always make sure that my heart is soft. He will always make sure I'm spiritually right. Like, even like, you know, doing praise and worship, like lead and stuff like that. He'll always, and sometimes I'd be like, chill out. But he always keeps me humble, but he always reminds me, like, you know, Satan in music, it can get tricky. Or even like, you know, let's say I I lead and I kill it. And I'm like, oh, I kill praise and worship. He's like, you're all right. Because he's like, and now as much as I be like, excuse me, but I realize later on, like, I don't want to start thinking that, especially with praise and worship, that I'm out here performing and killing it and not giving the credit and the glory to God and the Holy Spirit. And like, it's, you know, people not cheering because I'm singing good. Yeah, I sound good, but they cheering or they're singing because of the words, because they're thinking the goodness of God. So it's just stuff like that. I feel like most people would be like, what does that mean? But for him to love me enough to want to make sure my heart is right and to make sure I end up in heaven with him is a big deal to me. You know what I mean? Because I know some wives that husband don't even know the Jesus they know. That's not, they not, you know, he's going to tell me, hey, be kinder to your mom because the Bible says honor your mom. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to direct me in the way I should go according to the scriptures. Yeah. And that's his default. Yeah. And not like in a, let's sit down and turn it. Like, no, it's just, he will kindly be like, you can handle that better. Or, you know, just keep this in mind kind of thing. And that's big to me because I don't want to not grow. I don't want to get a hard heart. I don't want to be mean to people and be stuck in unforgiveness. And I feel like in the past, because my personality is kind of dominant, people would just, oh, that's what she is. You know, Erica, she'll go off, da-da-da-da. But I feel like he has softened me. And I feel like honestly a better person. A lot nicer. Like, genuinely a lot nicer. Like, I really now be like, maybe we shouldn't, like, kick him off the team. Let's sit him down there. But when we met, I'd be like, he on team.
Yeah, it was quick responses. I think was it Sunday? I might be mixing them up. On Monday nights, I take a leadership class with my pastor. And if it wasn't Sunday, well, he was talking, like, I think it was Sunday, rereading 1 Corinthians 13. Like, just really get it in you. But love has always been like a real basis for me, and so I explained it to the girls Sunday when they came over. I actually asked each one of them, I was like, what does love mean to you? And they hate when I put them on the spot because I just jumped in like no, this is so serious. Yeah, it was just like, let me ask you. And they try to avoid your eyeballs and, you know, all those types of things. But I'm like, at the core, one of the things I was talking about was being able to tell the truth. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm just gonna, you know, just lash it out, and at times I do though. But I also would own my mistakes. And so with them there, I had to own, I think our last practice session before then, they went on spring break last week. That Thursday, I went off on all of them. And I explained, I took full responsibility of it. And so, but even being able to own that mistake, one of the things that I do, that I talked to Eric about, when I might be venting about a particular individual or having a child, I always finish with, man, but they're a great kid. That's a great girl. But I'll talk to them like, I do this for me, because I really do believe words carry a lot of power.
Yes.
And so in that regards, I'm like, despite what this challenge is, like, this is, whether it's temporary or permanent, like, I still see the best in them. And so my last words to them, I told them, I was like, they don't even know, but I just asked them to do, which was 1 Corinthians 13:7, I think, where it's like, believe the best, hope the best, endure the best. It's something like that. That was my last words that I was like, this is what I want y'all to do. Like, this whole, for the last 6 weeks that we have, this is how I want you to see each other, no matter what. Like, this is what we're doing. And I gave them example of what I do. I mean, I've had people tell me they wish I could, they hate me, they want me to die. Athletes, you know, so I'm like, I still love you though, you know, so, and that don't mean it don't hurt, because it does, but I'm like, I'm still going to give you my absolute best. Now, in my brain, I have the black and white version of, well, that's what Jesus did. And he was just fine. And, you know, he didn't have no emotions.
He didn't show any emotions.
He had no emotions. Like, he was about his father's business.
I'm stuck in the flipping table scripture. Like, remember that time?
You know, so I'm like, but this hurts. You know, so, but in those situations, like, I was asking about a young lady probably not too long ago. You know, I was like, man, you know, I hope she's doing really good. You know, I said to one of the other girls who would see her sing, I was like, tell her I asked about it. I was like, she probably don't want to hear nothing about me, but tell her I asked about it. Like, man, I still love that girl, you know, so much. But I also have gotten that from, like, my pastor, my father, you know, just examples along those lines. And so it makes it a little bit easier. But she has played a big part, even despite where she's sharing, you know, me kind of encouraging her to love. I would also say some of the, I don't even want to call it mistakes, but let's say mishaps, that also further pushes me to keep loving and keep trying to push her, you know, to love as well, so to speak. So
I love that. Y'all said that beautifully about each other. What about being married? you know, you look back to your single days and you're able to compare now what it's like actually being married. What do you love about marriage?
This is going to sound so bad.
I think I already know where you're going.
I don't really have to do much.
I was about to say, yep. I knew that's where she was going.
I'm a princess, and I've been trying to be a princess my whole life. And, you know, God heard my heart. But no, like, I do cook, because Jed is not a good cook as I am. That's
I make
fair.
salmon.
That's it.
And air fryer stuff. That's about it.
No, you make salmon in the air fryer. Period. There's no other stuff on this list, my man.
No, sausages.
That was the fail.
Okay.
Look, anyway, that's another stuff.
That's
That was a fail.
Yeah.
Sausage, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
Anyway. But outside of really cook and clean, and I don't even clean a lot. It's just, when I do clean, I clean more. He's more like a keep it tidy, and I'm like when I do clean, we scrubbing.
Yeah.
But that don't happen a lot. But like that's it. Like Shed does laundry. He takes a car to get services. He does
just about everything.
Just everything. Yeah. He got all the budget. I just be swiping that car and like, oh. I'm sure he'll figure it out.
But that's not because you're coming from a entitled mentality.
No.
It's really going back to what you said earlier. Like
he had a whole system that I just joined into, and I really felt like if I would have came in and been like, no, I'm gonna do this, I think his brain would have short circuited. Like, because I'm not gonna speak that. I didn't start out very scheduled and very organized. So for him to be so like 10 years in living on it, you've been living on your own till he was 19. So I'm 10 years at that point.
Because Dad said you gotta get up.
Yeah, Dad said you gotta go, and he went.
Man,
and
like,
never looked
don't
back.
come back, do laundry. I think one time I came to try to do laundry. You ain't doing that.
That's crazy to me. That's
You
crazy.
gotta
To
go.
me. I'm like, you can't do laundry. What you mean? You my parents.
All right, man. So that's what it
But
is.
so that's how he is.
Yeah.
So I think if I would have tried to come in and try to take over stuff, it'd have just been a war. And then I also probably would have just struggled with it. Like he had a whole system. Why try to like assert my dominance? And that's not why we got married. I didn't get married to assert my dominance.
Right.
So because it's not that different from single life in a sense when I mean like we still pretty much do whatever we want. Now our desires, what we want to do, is a lot different from when we weren't married.
Right.
I know for me. But we not really big on trying to like change each other or I would love for us to wear matching outfits and go to farmers markets, but that's not our ministry. It's not our story. So, I mean, if you come to the house on a Saturday, Shed could be on his bike or like last week you went to Walmart at like 9 a.m.
Yeah, I did.
And I might be at Home Depot or with my sister. Like we give each other that space.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me is he literally take care of everything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah, no, I would say because I've been asked that question before, and when particularly with men who've been in whether it's marriage or relationships, a lot of times I'll say, and I don't say it from an arrogant place, I was like, my wife fully trusts me, and so the word I use is she submits to me. Now, some people will take that and run with it. Like I said something like that at my job. I'll never forget. It was like 6 years ago, and the women in that place. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
It was like I said.
Submission is like a curse.
Yeah,
It's
it was
like
like how
he
dare you?
abuses
We done
you.
elevated that. And I'm like, well, I didn't say it like
Like,
that.
speak for yourself,
Right.
sis.
You know, so
Yeah.
I'm
where I
doing
was
good
like-
over here.
and I'm not out here bossing around. I don't do that.
Right.
I don't tell her what to do, whatever. I was like, but she goes with my mission because she fully trusts me. Now, I'll say it to fellas who having that challenge. I'm like, there's probably a trust factor, and there's probably something you also haven't done
Right.
or hasn't been addressed or whatever that's causing her to not trust you, you know, to do whatever. Or it could have been some past stuff that ain't got nothing to do with him. But in my situation where I was like, it's been so much easier because she does trust me. And even when I've made mistakes, like she still trusts me. Like an example, I say push over with the girls, not even just that. I can be very gullible with a good deal, you know. So
A good salesman.
A good salesman.
Oh, he
I'm
can
a
be
trap.
really gullible.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's so bad.
I'm like, they wouldn't try to get over on me.
thinks everyone is like just the best intentions. I'm like, sir, they definitely
don't mean no
got
harm.
you.
So I'm like, shucks, Vivint, ADT, you name them, they got me. So I'm like, dang, they got me again.
Right.
My car, oh my goodness.
You pay so much more for that car than you should have.
So many, because I just be like, oh, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't lie. And she's like, no, they're all liars.
That's their job, right?
It's like you're going a mile away.
But why I mention that is because that could give her reason now. You're not good with money. I don't trust you to make those decisions, But she doesn't hold that against me. She might throw it as a joke every now and then.
Right.
But it's not like, give me this. It's never been that. And I can actually say never. Like, that's an absolute. It's never been that. So I also walk in confidence, So, like, I just started slowly learning day trading.
Okay.
Now I'm playing with, like, dollars. Single dollars, like $10, whatever. And so I just started doing. I'm like, okay, I'll take some chances here because I know you're gonna lose money at times. I'm like, man, I lost like $50. Now, again, this is a little small stuff. I think it was 2 days ago. And she's like, man, you gonna get it, I'm like, oh, all right. Internally, that's what I'm like, oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But as she said earlier, there's never been a moment where she's given me a reason where she was like, have I ever like spazzed out at you about this or that? I was like, nah. So I walk in a confidence that her submission in that regards, but she knows I'm submitted to Christ.
That's right.
So, or whether it's my pastor,
That's
and we've talked about like if I really go spaz out, she knows that there's other men that she can call. So
I'm gonna need that.
100%. And she knows I'm not gonna be like, what are you doing? Like that's
Right.
it's not gonna happen. So there's an accountability piece that gives her a security so that she can keep walking and living her free life because that's what I want her to do. Like me and my brother have talked about that for both of our wives. Like we want our wives to be that one I do this with my athletes. I do this on Sunday. I'm the one that does the thinking. You're supposed to just go do, just go live. I take that off of your plate. And so number one, that's what I want to do for her to walk in the freedom that she's supposed to walk into. And I know she's slowly getting closer and closer to that. And I enjoy seeing it. Like even her being here right now, or just like, and her being free to just kind of talk, knowing that something like this is going to go public.
Right.
Where it's just like, oh, you girls, what you gotta say?
Yeah.
Because there's so much that, she can say. We were literally just talking about this last week.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that you can really offer. When I shared with her, I'm like, these 3 girls who barely heard her speak, like, I love your wife, I'm like, they will hang on your every word.
That's right.
So it's like, girl, open up your mouth and talk. Even if it sounds crazy, they're getting something from it.
That's right. That's good. I love that. And what you said about submission, right? Because like I said, it's like a curse word to a lot of women. We forget the part that says submit one to another.
Yeah.
That's a verse too.
Yep.
You know, when you really understand what that scripture means, then you begin to realize it's both people that's coming together and they're submitting to each other. But like you said, you hit it on the nail. You're submitting to God first.
Right.
And that's why she's able to trust you on the level that she's able to trust you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
because even in him doing all the stuff he does, I've had people tell me like, oh, I could never let my husband be in charge of blah, blah, blah. Or like, my mom, her intention is not the way it comes off, but like something will happen and she's like, well, what's y'all home warranty say? And I'm like, girl, I don't know. I don't even know where it is. And she's like, you can't be like that. What if something happened to Shed? And you got to know da-da-da. I'm like, if something happened to Shed, we got bigger issues.
And you got a spreadsheet that you can...
And I'm like, also, if I really wanted to find out, it's right there.
It's right there.
And like he'll email me the budget. Like it's not a thing where
it's not secret.
He does stuff and I don't have access. Like even with our money, I swipe the card, but I can also just check all the accounts. I just don't. I just like to play a little game, So it's like, it's not a situation where I'm submitted to him out of fear or whatever, but it's also like, I don't want to be working my whole life in my relationship. And then the stuff he is doing, he was going to do anyway. He had to pay bills anyway. Somebody got to do laundry anyway. So it wasn't like I put these things on him.
Right.
He just added me to his. And there's some times where I'll like ask him, like, do you want me to take something from you? Do you want me to help you out? And he's like, no, like planning all our trips. He loves that. He will spend hours looking through thousands of Airbnbs. I'm a guy, I got 2 Google pages before I'm like, we're going to somewhere on here. Out of these 3, which one you feeling? Because it's too many options. I can't take this on.
Right.
But he will go through, like, he on page 35. I'm like, sir, pick one.
Yeah.
But he loves it.
Yeah.
And so that sense of leadership, that responsibility, is what he was raised to do. And I feel like that's why we go together well. I'm not fighting him on what he was raised and meant to do.
Right.
And he's not trying to make me, like, in a cage when I've been me my whole life. Like, I've been this free spirit, creative, like, yeah, my whole life. So I feel like we do well together because we're good. And it's easy for me to submit to you because you got it together. Like, what am I fighting here?
Yeah.
And then also, again, I don't want to do more stuff. Who wants to do more? You know what I mean? Like, everybody different. That's just me.
That's good. And the main theme that I feel like I've heard throughout this conversation is how well you guys complement each other. Because I think in marriage, well, when we leave it up to God to show us who our spouse is, He'll allow that to take place, right? And even with what you said as far as, well, I don't do this, Shedrick does this, there may be somebody listening out there like, huh? Or when Shedrick says something that he does, somebody's like, what? Okay, they can be like that because everybody's marriage is different. There's no cookie cutter marriage. You know what I mean? Everyone's marriage is different. And when the foundation is God, the most important thing,
you good to go.
I mean, what we talking about here?
No,
You know?
absolutely.
So I love this, y'all. This was great. This was a great conversation. I want you guys to share any advice, any wisdom that you have for anyone watching about being overly self-reliant in marriage, or just anything that you want to share.
You go first.
I got nothing. Overly self-reliant.
Or anything. That's on your
I
part.
will say one thing that I feel like has helped us, and I feel like you told me this without telling me this, or maybe you should have told me this years ago. It's not your job, male or female, as far as in the marriage, to check someone or to make them realize how wrong they are or how damaged they are. It's kind of your job to just love them through it. Like, even with him being really self-reliant, I would voice my opinion or tell him how it made me feel, and then we move on. I'm not holding it against you. Like, I tend to, as I say, keep receipts longer. And Shed has told me in the past, like, you holding a tally of everything I've done. And I'm like, no, I'm keeping a record of life we're living. You know what I mean? But I also realize that I can't, if he was very self-reliant yesterday, I can't always assume he's that tomorrow. So I kind of got to see stuff with fresh eyes. So just, if someone's going through something, when I met Shed, he was 28. We got married, he was 27 and 28. That's 27 years of his life before me.
Yep.
He also is very much like his dad, who at that point, that's 50 years of life. Like, there's generations that lead up to that person making decisions they make.
Yep.
So give that person grace, work your way through, and also, like, know who you with. Don't agree to a lifelong commitment to somebody if you're not good with who they are that day. Because that self-reliance, like, we're in year 8.
Going on 9.
Going on 9.
Yeah, it's close to 9.
And it's been a journey. Yeah, it's closer to 9. It's been a journey for both of us. There are things that we changed in a month. There are things that are still very similar to how they were when we met, because we both were very happy with who we met and who we married. So I'm like, if there are some big things that you like, I just can't get past this, and y'all not married yet, like, think about that.
That's right.
Because you have to, people grow in love. They don't grow in, you always da-da-da-da, you know what I mean? So it's like, make sure it's an environment where you can love them through it, and they can love you through it.
That's right.
Semi?
I love
No, that
that.
makes
I
great
love
sense. I'm like, shoot, I don't need to say nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, you took that. Yeah, I mean, I would just
good.
really extend the grace, grace factor. I guess I don't know. Obviously, I don't know who necessarily would watch this in regards to the type of person, but whether it's a dating couple, currently married couple, whatever the case may be. Certainly for dating, like I say this to my kids, I said it to the girls when they came over. Like, man, ask them tough questions. You got to be intentional early. And I was saying, I was like, even though y'all are 19, 20, I'm not saying you're looking for your husband right now, but you could save yourself a whole lot of heartache, if you could be intentional with your relationships now so that you're not carrying that baggage at 25, 26, 27, 28.
That's right.
Little things like that. And so the intentional factor, and then once you're actually in one, assuming you're in the right one, is that grace piece. Like I think that's huge. And grace, not even just necessarily for your, husband, wife, or spouse, whatever. I'm gonna say their families, as well.
Yes.
So the
It's
in-laws, whatever you want to call it,
Yep.
so cousins, nieces, nephews, you call it having that grace and really just trying to see people. Like one of my, I'd probably say weekly prayers. I don't want to say daily. Is God help me to really see people as you see them.
Yes.
And when you really do that,
yes.
it will soften your heart.
Yes, it
Again,
will.
I don't get right with everybody, so like some
get right
random
a lot.
dude, strangers sometimes a little bit harder. People that I know, it's a lot easier, even if I know them just a little bit. But like some random dude coming down the street, I'm driving, I almost went off on somebody today.
Well, the car is not your.
Yeah,
You're not
just
great
like-
in the car.
I was coming up the Towson parking lot.
The weakest in your
girl-
flesh in that car.
This girl ran straight through the stop sign, and I just caught myself because I was about to say something, and I wanted to go past, give her a look. I'm like, you know what? Let me just drive. And so my car came up, I just drove. I didn't even look. And I was like, let me just drive. But that continual prayer will help alleviate situations that could blow up.
Yes.
So because I also know, like I know good and well, like Satan is looking for opportunities to also blow things up. Like we could have had one right before we came here.
Yep.
So where it was just like, okay, like he's gonna try to find things
right.
that could discourage what could be a ministry for somebody else.
right.
And so that's where it's like keeping that, but that's intentional thinking. And
Yes.
so I don't know what the long-term outcome is, but I know there's an outcome. And I don't need to know. I used to want to know, like, what would really happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be 5 years down the road, somebody could see this, so and it
Right.
could really transform their life in that moment.
That's right.
And so it's like, all right, God will use us how you see fit. Let me not be selfish in this moment, trying to make this about me or our situation or whatever the
Right,
case may be.
right.
And so it's like, there's somebody out there, God, I'm going to love them through this. As invisible as they are, I'm loving somebody out there.
Yeah.
And so again, whether it's the spouse, in-laws, it's just really just loving people, which we're
Yeah.
supposed to do anyway. So
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
good. That's good. I love that. I love that. Well, this was absolutely wonderful, y'all. Thank you so much for just being willing, being available, because I know y'all some busy folks. So thank y'all for being
No,
willing
absolutely.
and
Thanks for
available.
having us.
Yes.
Absolutely. And if y'all don't mind, not to put y'all on the spot, I would love to have individual episodes with the two.
yeah.
Oh, sure.
And we can figure
got
out
you.
what to talk
I got
about.
a lot of
Yeah.
overthink. Personally, I got a lot of overthink.
But yeah. As you
yeah.
guys were talking, I was like, I want to hear them individually as
Got
well.
you.
Just share a bit of their individual
I'm
stories.
all for that.
So yeah, we'll talk about that. But thank y'all again. And did you want to shout out your business?
Oh, okay. So, if anyone else...
As she did the.
So I'm a woodworker. I make custom wood furniture. I also am a DIYer, so any project I kind of can do. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's e.elliott, so EDOTELLIOTT. And then my website is eedesignco.org. That's getting remodeled as we speak. But yeah, so I make custom furniture in Baltimore. If you want a piece, hit me up through IG, through the website. And if you see me at Home Depot looking dusty, feel free to stop me there, and I'll have a business card for you. But yeah, that's what I do. Thank you.
And she's great.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you.
She's great at her craft, and we have not purchased anything from her yet, but we will. But yeah, she's absolutely great at what she does. So keep going, sis.
Thank you.
You
That's the
doing
plan.
it.
That's the plan.
Yes, and God's gonna bless it. Shedrick, I know you like, God,
Send them by highway and byway.
Let me see some checks.
right?
There.
Don't play me like that.
And I wanted to say too earlier, Shed, as you were just talking about when you asked him about his dreams and his goals, and he was just saying, I mean, I'm good coaching.
Yeah.
You know, I think about like how your pastor said, this is pastoring, you know, at a certain level. And I just want to encourage you to keep going, because I know that you're blessing those young people. I remember back in your Western days, and you had, I think it was an all girls team.
I had both.
You had both? Okay. Mostly girls. And
girls.
you would just always talk about them. Like, it was just something just on your heart. Like, God is giving you a burden for them. And so I encourage you to keep going, because I know that they're being blessed. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we can keep talking, y'all, but we're going to wrap this up. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for Breakthrough Conversations. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I know that I did. I hope that you enjoyed Erica and Shedrick. I want you to leave a comment in the comment section, just letting us know something that stood out to you. Hit like, share this with someone so that they may be blessed. In the meantime, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. In the meantime, I want you guys to be blessed and have a wonderful day.